Yona of the Dawn, Volume 2, A Raging Storm, and Unbending Steel. Some nights, I felt like I wanted to die. He's so small, yet I never got the sense that he was suffering. His smile and his strength had given me courage. Following Suwon's betrayal, Yona fell into a deep depression. She appears listless in the closing pages of the first volume as she's faced with the harsh realization that she did not know her childhood friend and confronted with the potential truth that her relationship was built on lies and deceit. As Yona and Hak flee the castle and arrive in Fuga, home of the Wind Tribe, you see Yona being offered moments of respite from her grief by strangers that soon become family. At the memory of her father, tears well in Yona's eyes. Taeyeon, Hak's younger brother who's none the wiser of Yona's situation, instinctively shows her kindness and comfort by brushing the tears from her eyes. When the Fire Tribe attacks the Wind Tribe and blocks off their resources, Hyungdae reassures Yona, who has a visceral reaction to the violence and harm the Wind Tribe is experiencing, explicitly stating that right now, she is family. These are just a few instances where members of the Wind Tribe extended kindness towards Yona. The first smile we witnessed from Yona after the betrayal is brought forth by the joy of others around her. Members of the Wind Tribe are carrying on with their antics, and Yona says to herself, "Everyone is smiling. They're all so cheerful." Then, a smile touches her lips. The energy and joy of the Wind Tribe is contagious. The Wind Tribe meets Yona with love, joy, and kindness, and she reflects those emotions back. Slowly, you're seeing some semblance of life returning to Yona. From this interaction, it's clear to gauge that Yona is someone who seems to be deeply impacted by those around her, particularly those she cares for. Reaching back to the third chapter in the first volume, we're presented with a situation that I believe first impactfully portrays Yona being deeply influenced and motivated to act and become stronger by those she cares for. I rambled about the scene on my Tumblr, but I'm going to re-up it here because I think it ties in seamlessly to Yona's character progression in the second volume. Taejin, son of the Fire Tribe chief, has been harassing a younger Yona with unwanted advances. Frustrated, Yona turns to Hak for help, who responds by telling her to handle the situation herself. Dissatisfied with his seeming lack of care, Yona calls Hak cold and makes a direct comparison between Hak and Suwon. As she says, Suwon would never say anything like that. This triggers Hak because of reasons, and he claps back, angrily telling Yona to go crying to him whenever you want someone to protect you, him being Suwon. On the heels of this fight, Yona apologizes to Hak. It's in her apology and her direct action following the apology that we witness Yona being motivated by someone she cares for, Hak, to be strong. "You must have been mad at how I was acting." In her apology, Yona directly acknowledges Hak's feelings and her role in his anger, which emphasizes the time she put in to understand his feelings. The work she put in to understand him and offer a genuine apology indicative of how deeply she cares for him and values him as a friend. She goes on to assert, "I'm the princess of Koka. I've got to stop whining and do something about my problem." Not only has Yona taken stock of Hak's feelings and apologized, but she's taking further action towards reconciliation and has gathered motivation through her conflict with Hak to deal with Taejin directly and prevent the same conflict from occurring in the future. Just as Yona was fired up to become a stronger person because of her care for Hak in Chapter 3 and a deep affection for the Wind Tribe in Volume 2, you see a parallel situation occurring with Hak because of his love for Yona and his tribe. Now, is it a coincidence we are shown these clear parallels between Hak and Yona in the same volumes and chapters?
Is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence? I ask you, is it a coincidence?
I ask again, is it a coincidence? I can't abandon her. Hak's words at the end of Chapter 3 of the first volume when he responds to King Il's request and chooses to become Yona's personal guard. I can't abandon her. Hak's words come in the wake of his dispute and reconciliation with Yona, an altercation that opened Hak's eyes to the extent of Yona's care for him and her inner strength. Hak, someone who cared little for political scheming and has a less than stellar opinion of the nobility, willingly bowed his head and chose to become Yona's guard, and has since carried out the role with such conviction because of his love and respect for her. As we see in Volume 1, Hak constantly throws his body between Yona and danger, even in the face of insurmountable odds and power. The same conviction is witnessed in Volume 2, with Hak being motivated and unwavering in strength because of his love for Yona and the people in his tribe. Suwon and Co. are enacting a coup and plan to falsely charge Hak with regicide. With the other tribes, many unknowing of Suwon's treachery, backing him as king, Suwon needs only General Mundok's approval to cement a smooth ascension to the throne. But General Mundok's not having it. Employing the Fire Tribe to harass and isolate the Wind Tribe, General Mundok is backed into a corner with no signs of reprieve unless he backs Suwon's ascent to the throne. Aware of the severity of the situation, Hak relinquishes his title as Son Hak, young chief of the Wind Tribe, planning to desert the city and go out on his own to save his people and keep Yona safe within Fuga. He affirms the motivation behind his actions in his conversation with General Mundok when he explicitly requests that he focus on protecting the tribe and makes a plea that General Mundok allows Yona to remain in Fuga as a member of the Wind Tribe. As Hak internally comes to his decision, prepares to speak with General Mundok, and leaves Fuga, a look of calm resignation paints his face because he's at peace with his decision. Hak is deeply motivated by a desire to keep his loved ones safe. Taking these steps to become a criminal on the run has assured the safety of his people and the possibility of a happy and peaceful future for Yona. As he departs from his home with a bounty upon his head, there's a smile on his face that highlights his unwavering conviction, sourced by his feelings for those he loves. For both Hak and Yona, their deep care for those they love allows them to be firm in their conviction to protect their loved ones. An ember has always been smoldering within Yona. At moments in the first volume, a small spark ignites from this ember before it dies back down. These whisperings of a flame tend to spark when Yona is faced with harm or hurt experienced by someone she cares about. The ember flares when Yona scores herself to stand up to Taejeon after hurting Hak's feelings. In Volume 2, we witness this ember within Yona start to glow brighter, before sparking into a small flame that begins to burn when she witnesses the devastation wrought by the Fire Tribe upon the people of Fuga. When the Fire Tribe jumps Hyungdae and blocks the river in Chapter 7, Yona is forced to confront the betrayal that occurred and the subsequent fallout that is directly impacting the Wind Tribe. With a forlorn expression, Yona rounds out her thoughts by asking herself, what's going to happen to these people? Her selflessness is shown amidst her anguish as her inner thoughts reveal a shift occurring in her priorities. Yona's beginning to focus her attention on the impact of Suwon's actions on those around her, rather than slipping further into grief and hopelessness. She voices the shift when Taeyeon collapses with a seizure from a lack of medicine, and she asks Hak what she can do to help. The look in her eyes in this panel reflecting the firm intent behind her words. In Chapter 8, Yona stumbles upon the merchants who were attacked by the Fire Tribe. Her expression is stricken with shock when she sees the injuries and suffering wrought against innocent people, all for the sake of assuring Suwon's rise to the throne. Given all Yona's experienced and her rearing within the castle, one might expect Yona to unravel at the pain she's witnessing. Hyungdae himself, catching Yona standing amongst those injured, voices that he'll look after her so she shouldn't cry. Yet his words trail off as he notices Yona's expression. While tears gather in her eyes, Yona's expression reflects anger, a brewing ember of fury at the cruelty she's witnessing. In the face of such unabashed and unsolicited waves of cruelty at the hands of the Fire Tribe, Yona has watched as Hyungdae and other members of the Wind Tribe have remained kind and stood strong, heads unbowed, and it fills her with courage and strength. As she comes to a decision, Yona sports a peacefully resigned expression similar to Hak's as she says her goodbyes to Taeyeon. Running to the gates of Fuga, you see that glowing ember within her eyes sparking into a flame as she sets her mind to leave the Wind Tribe with Hak to guarantee the safety of the people she has come to love. It's in the northern mountains where Hak and Yona are being pursued by Taejeon and the Fire Tribe that we witness this flame within Yona erupt into a raging firestorm. Outnumbered and under attack, Hak puts his body on the line, intercepting an arrow meant for Yona. As they flee further into the mountains, Hak hides Yona while he deals with the Fire Tribe. From her hiding spot, Yona overhears Taejeon and his cronies reveal the arrow Hak was struck with was poisoned, and watches as a marksman lines up a shot to take Hak down. It is at this moment, beneath the brush, Yona reaches a crossroads and ultimately chooses to tread down a path that proves she is in fact about that life. Over the course of seconds, Yona struggles internally between a desire to help Hak and a paralyzing fear of stepping out and facing danger. At the remembrance of why she left Fuga, she emerges from her hiding spot and confronts Taejin. The strength of her conviction to protect Hak in this moment and to stand against injustices carried out against the Wind Tribe is bolstered by her love for Hak and the Wind Tribe. I do also believe parts of her desperation and conviction are linked to the trauma and loss she experienced at the hands of Suwon and a fear of experiencing further loss. But at the root of her actions and words is a desire to protect those she cares for. The depth of her conviction is witnessed in Chapter 10 when Hak is on the ropes due to the poison and number of soldiers he's fighting against. With his death quickly becoming an impending reality, a haunted expression plagues Yona's face. Yona runs to do what she can to save Hak, but is intercepted by Taejin, who restrains her by yanking her hair back. With zero hesitation, Yona reaches for Taejin's sword and slices off her hair to free herself and get to Hak. The implications of her cutting her hair, of Yona discarding an extension of herself she had grown to treasure because of her deep love for Suwon, a symbol of her unwavering conviction to do what she must to protect those she loves, even if it means casting aside or deprioritizing things that she loves. Eyes blazing, she stands stalwart, waves of furious determination rolling off her as she faces off against the Fire Tribe. Her journey up to this point has led her here. Those seemingly inconsequential sparks of action she'd taken in the first volume, indicative of her character, that allowed her to make such a trying decision in Fuga to leave. Slowly, that flame within Yona has been building up into this furious blaze that we see on the mountain, and it's tragically striking to witness. Whereas Yona's journey up to the end of Volume 2 was one of a spark being ignited, morphing into a burgeoning flame, before bursting forth as a raging firestorm, the trajectory of Hak's journey differs slightly. Hak's journey resembles that of iron that has been tempered, scorched with scalding heat into unbending steel. It's apparent from the narrative that Hak is a strong man when it comes to physical strength in combat, but what's more moving to me is the constant, unwavering strength in his character and convictions. From a young age, Hak has sourced his strength from a desire to protect those he loves. Yona and the Wind Tribe function as a metaphorical flame that has molded Hak, tempering him into this unyielding sword that does not bend, even when facing insurmountable odds. As mentioned before, Hak isn't one to shy away from danger. Rather, Hak is someone who willingly and readily throws himself into harm's way, deprioritizing his needs and safety for those he cares for, even if the harm isn't necessarily physical. This is shown at a young age when Hak agrees to become Yona's guard, deprioritizing his own feelings for Yona, instead prioritizing her happiness and safety. It's his desire to see those he cares for happy that motivates him and allows him to genuinely wish the best for Yona and Suwon in the future. At multiple instances, you see Hak throw himself physically between Yona and danger, from when Suwon and his goons had her at the end of a blade, to when they were fleeing into the forest and a snake wanted to take a nibble at Yona's ankles. This pattern continues into the second volume, with Yona's safety and well-being being of utmost priority to Hak. Hak is hyper-aware of Yona's mental state and does what he can to improve it. Fleeing to his home is the obvious route given the current circumstances, yet at the same time, Hak is aware that the environment the Wind Tribe offers might be just what Yona needs to recover from the trauma she experienced. He integrates her into the tribe while keeping stock of her countenance. When the members of his tribe draw a smile out of Yona, you see Hak reflect her smile onto his face. This brief panel of emotion portraying the selflessness with which Hak approaches protecting Yona. He doesn't expect nor desire anything in return. Assuring her happiness and peace is reward enough. It's the near assurance of her happiness and safety, along with the safety of his tribe, that compels Hak to leave the Wind Tribe without hesitancy or regret, and allows him to throw himself in the face of near certain death atop the mountain with an unwavering conviction. In summary, the similarities witnessed between Yona and Hak in the first 2 volumes of the manga are the epitome of somatism. In all seriousness though, Kusanagi establishes Yona and Hak as a pair who prioritize and are motivated by a desire to protect those they love. Within this similarity, however, lies a divergence when it comes to how they approach handling conflict and self-perception. Hak particularly continuously refers to himself as a tool, a word he attributes to himself that is reflective of his self-perception and self-devaluation. As he gains a deeper understanding of his value in interpersonal relationships, we see Hak forced to confront his self-perception. Gradually, we see him growing into a stronger version of the already formidable Thunder Beast we met in the first volume.